Welcome to the Courageous Living Podcast, where we learn to exchange our struggles for strength and embrace courage as a lifestyle. I'm your host, Courage Molina, author of Power Principles, Courageous Living, How I Overcame Depression, Saved My Marriage, and Took Back My Life, CEO of the Courageous Living brand, and the co-founder of Mosaic Women Network. What's up? So excited to be back here with y'all, man. It is lovely being here. I have a special guest for y'all today. Her name is Quia Morris. She's the owner. Listen, let me try this again, right? She's the owner and artist of QZ Design Gallery. She's the mother of two, and she is a great girlfriend for sure. She's one of my great girlfriends. I like to say we go way back to my days in Tallahassee. Quia, say what's up.
Hi, Courage. How are you?
Hey, I'm so good. I'm so glad to have you on here. You would think that because she is my great girlfriend, she would have been one of the first people to come on the podcast, but you know how friends are. They're like, oh, man, I'm going to do it.
I
Like,
know,
these people.
funny. Mm-hmm.
Y'all are the worst, but she's a great girlfriend. Kia and I go back to my days in Tallahassee, Florida. She did not go to Florida State. So sad for her. She went
baby.
to FAMU, baby. What's up? Much love. But listen, I wanted to bring Kia on because she is, in my opinion, at this time, living a very courageous life. You know, it's 2018 and everybody's a hustler. Everybody's trying to do this online entrepreneurship or starting something. But people are mostly selling things that are going to help people to start businesses or that are going to help people to increase their numbers and things like that. That seems to be where everyone is flocking to. And that's not true for Kia, which I think is amazing. And for me, I think it seems like super scary, which is why I think it is courageous of her. I mean, she's got two kids. She has actual human beings that she's responsible for. And she has chosen to start a business in art. Why art?
Oh my gosh. I don't know why I chose art because, I mean, really, it's the term starving artist is just so accurate. It really is. It is so accurate. I think I chose art because that's my gift. And, I didn't know, what else to go with, but what I really love to do, what I was drawn to do, and what I know that God gave me a gift to do. So, I really am pretty much just stepping out on faith, making a business out of it and, pouring myself into it. And I feel like at this point, my whole life into this thing. I'm not where I want to be yet, but like I have faith that I'm going to get there.
Where did you start? Did you take art courses in school?
I did not take art courses in school. I didn't do any kind of art at FAM. My whole path in college was to actually be an Army officer.
Really?
Yes. I actually received a full ride to FAM through Army ROTC. I actually joined the reserves while I was in high school and received a full ride to FAM. And so that was my goal. My goal was to graduate, become an officer, and, I'd probably be a major right now. I mean, many of my girlfriends who graduate from FAM with me are majors in the Army right now. It's just incredible. And it's like my path completely changed when I started having health problems with my knees and I received a medical discharge. And so I kind of had to find another way other than what was planned. And so many things have happened for me to end up on this path of being an artist.
Let me ask you a question. How far into the ROTC FAM situation were you in before you got this discharge? Like, had you just started FAM?
Oh my gosh, I was in my junior year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty traumatic experience for sure, to say the least. I didn't know, I was unsure of everything. I was just like, this has been, from freshman to junior year, there's just so much energy and so much planning put into, being a part of the Army ROTC program. I mean, it's an excellent program, and, everything is, based upon you becoming an officer when you graduate, going to training, all those things. And, that was my path. And so, when I started having problems with my knees, I just started having extreme pain. I couldn't run anymore. I could barely even go to sleep at night. It was really bad. And, when the doctors told me, yeah, you can't do this anymore. You're going to need a knee replacement in your 40s at this point. So I had to get out, and I received my medical discharge. And then, I had a choice whether to go back home to Virginia and, finish college with my parents. That wasn't an option. Or I'm like, I can't go back home. Okay. Once you have that taste of freedom, my parents were all the way in Virginia. I was in Tallahassee, and that's a 12-hour buffer zone right there. And I was loving my buffer zone. So I'm like, I am just going to have to go ahead and just take out them school loans and finish up, my last year and a half of college. And that's what I did.
Oh, wow. So not only did you have to change programs, like you could no longer stay on the path that you were on, you also lost your scholarship, which makes sense, but I didn't connect that when you said that initially.
Yes. So I lost my scholarship. So everything up to that point was paid for. And, thank goodness. And because I was able to get out medically, I didn't have to pay any money back. Because, once you receive an Army ROTC scholarship, if you decide, I don't want to do this anymore, you have to pay that money back that they gave to you for yes, they will send you a bill.
Uncle Sam was like, no, fam.
Uncle Sam's going to get his money. Yeah, he's like, no, you didn't fulfill your duty of becoming an officer and signing your life away to the Army. You are getting a bill. So because of the whole medical portion, I did not have to pay that money back. Thank God. That was a blessing. So, but yeah, so my major had been healthcare management, so I kind of went ahead along the lines of that and, got my bachelor's in healthcare management. But the whole Army ROTC portion was, gone. I didn't do that anymore for the last year and a half.
Wow.
Okay,
so once you realize you can't do this anymore, like, I'm not going to do this ROTC, I'm not going to be able to go to the military, what did you think you would do after college?
I honestly did not know. There's so many things that happened while I was in college that kind of, I kind of lost focus of what I even wanted to do for a career. I met my husband in college. I mean, we're, my ex-husband, I should say, we're divorced now, but I met him while I was in college. We got married. I walked across the stage pregnant with my son. And so, I mean, so many things happened. I mean, my senior year, I had gotten married. I was, fully pregnant with a baby. I was renovating our house. I was taking real estate classes to become a realtor. There were so many things going on. So my focus wasn't really on like what I'm going to do. We were, thinking about doing property investing. There was just a lot going on. I wasn't really thinking about, what is my talent? What can I do? I was just like, what can I do to make money?
Oh, yeah.
Money was my focus.
Money is the focus for a lot of people, not just people in college, not just people who have their life turned upside down. Even when people are thinking about, okay, I want to start a business. In my coaching business, anytime someone comes for a consultation and they're telling me about what they're going to do, if I ask them, okay, what's the purpose behind this? If they tell me their number one purpose is money, I cannot take them as a client. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with making money. Your girl trying to make these ducks over here, so I get it. But but that's just not what I'm trying to promote with my coaching. I'm not trying to encourage people to just go out and make money. But that is that's a very real situation because, I think it's very easy for people to say things, even myself, for people to say things like, you have to follow your heart and what's your passion and find your purpose. Okay, my purpose right now is to keep these lights on. Real talk. My purpose right now is to put a roof.
That's your immediate purpose.
Exactly. So
right.
like I get that. so I'm mad at that. So you were doing all these things, not really thinking about your purpose, which I think, that's what happens. Even once you've started to walk in your purpose, you still start thinking about like, okay, this is great and warm and fuzzy in my purpose, but I need to make some money.
Yeah, but I still have bills to pay. I got to feed the kids. There's just so many things that life just gets to you. I mean, it's life, and it happens to everyone. And, a lot of times, we're not able to actually have a career that we love what we do. I would say most people don't actually love what they do.
How did you get here?
Most people are sitting at a desk in a cubicle, working for someone who could care less whether they die tomorrow. They get replaced within a week. It's like, what are you really working for?
Yeah. I think life sometimes forces us to make decisions that we wouldn't make. And I also think we don't, can you think of a time, right, in your life from, say, high school through college, where anyone said to you, hey, Quia, I want you to start thinking about your gifting or your purpose. I want you to make decisions that's going to take you towards there. No. Ain't nobody saying that. Everyone's talking about going to college, leaving college, getting a job with good benefits, a job that's going to pay you a decent living, not even really thinking about what are your talents. I know, I was a high school teacher for a long time, and the conversations that we are having with parents and having with kids are still along those same lines. Like, what industry do you think you can fit into where you can make money? We are not asking in public education. We're not asking, hey, what is your gifting? Hey, where are you talented? What are you passionate about? So there's not really a time that comes naturally for us to do that. I do think some people get it early. God bless them. They get it early somehow from someone, or it's just inherent in them. And they're thinking, this is my heart.
But it's definitely not common.
It is not normal fare. It is not.
It's really
so
not.
How did you get here? I mean, how did you get from doing the real estate and this is what I'm doing, like I'm looking for money, to I'm walking in my purpose?
Oh my goodness, girl. It has been such a long journey. So I graduated FAM in 2003, and was it 2003? No, it was 2002, and had my son in 2003. And so basically for the past 15 years, I've been trying to find my purpose. That's a long time. That is a really long time. And it's like, I've been painting literally for like the past maybe 8 years or so. Some of my paintings are actually like 8 years old. But as a business or as something that, I'm striving to do and, to make a living, no. This dream of having this business is only about 2.5 years old. So to me, that's fairly new. So getting on that path, it took a lot, and it took some like traumatic events in my life to actually get me on that path of, okay, you know what? Life is too short. I'm going to actually follow my heart and follow what I'm good at, but at the same time, make money so I can feed the kids. So, I was married for 13 years, and my divorce was final last year, and really that propelled me into making my talent a business. It really did, because for the past 13 years, I was mom, and I was working full time also, but I really was just let me just do what's best for the family, which every mom should do, every wife should do. But I wasn't really thinking about myself. I wasn't thinking about my goals and my dreams and, how can I better myself? I'm just thinking about, how can I provide for the kids? How can I help the family? How can we pay down these bills? And, it was just, that was daily life.
Let me ask you a
And,
question. Do you think that you couldn't, like, there wasn't any space for you to, or you just didn't until, because I tell people all the time, divorce is a death. There is mourning, there is grief that comes with that. I don't care how the marriage ended. I don't care why you left. I don't care about none of that. When you get divorced, that is, you are burying the future that you thought you would have. You are burying this like idea.
You're burying your whole entire
Right.
life, even though it was only 13 years, but that was my whole entire life. It was everything. It's like, you're saying goodbye to a whole other family. You're saying goodbye to his family. I mean, his sister was my sister, his mom was my mom. And, to say goodbye to all that just so suddenly, it was terrible. Like, it took me a long time to get myself together.
So do you think that you couldn't think about your own goals and your purpose and where you wanted to go? Like, you couldn't focus on it because the marriage held you prisoner? Or are you saying that once you went through the grief of, burying what you thought your life would be, it was in that moment or in those moments you were like, you know what, life is short, let me really focus on mine?
Right. It was a little bit of both. While I was married, I wasn't very motivated, honestly. I didn't have someone actually motivating me to do what I was good at, honestly. And I wasn't really a good self-motivator. You kind of, a lot of times you kind of you tend to follow the other person's personality, and you kind of feed off of each other. So, really there was just a lot of just working going on and not a lot of dreaming or not a lot of planning for the future. It was just, let's stay afloat, as much as we can right now. And so I felt like there wasn't really much room to have extra time for me to, let me go out and do this business. It's like, I have to be with the kids. I got to do this, and, I just had a lot on my plate, and I was not thinking about what do I want to do? It seemed to me like that wasn't even an option, even though it could have been, but to me, it wasn't.
And I want to say to the ladies that are listening, I'm sure there's some great, wonderful, super husbands out there that are like great with supporting and encouraging. But I meet women all over, even if their husbands are great husbands, and even if, their marriage isn't in trouble or anything, they still are talking about how difficult it is to get them to show them the kind of support that they need and, like seeking what they want. Right. Now, they all say, yes, you should do it. I shouldn't say they all. They mostly say, yes, we're encouraging you, you should do it. But when it comes down to, the sacrifices that need to be made for the wife to actually pursue her goal, to actually build that business, that is where the husbands tend to be like,
that's where you have a lot of
okay, when you go about to do what? How much is that going to cost? How much are you going to make doing that? When is it?
Yes, and it was nice when it was a hobby. You want to do what now? And you want to invest.
And to show love to those husbands and to those marriages. I want to say this, and I'm saying this, y'all know I try and stay transparent because I really believe that, one, that keeps me honest, and two, it is going to encourage someone else who is in the same place. I will say this, that it is not easy. Even when they say that they are supportive and they are not showing that support, my husband is not showing the support that I feel like he should show. I am always very mindful of the fact that this is my vision. God has called me. God has anointed me for this. And I can't be mad at the blind. I can't be upset. So for me, it really boils down to this. God spoke to me. God gave me this. And if my husband is still not really on board the way I want him to be, then that just means that God hasn't spoken to him. Because when God speaks, then everybody's eyes are open, and they don't have to be believers. I don't care what they believe. When God speaks to them, there is a change in their mindset and their perspective. And so we can't be angry at the blind. Your husband just can't see. It's not that he doesn't want to see. It's not that he doesn't want to be supportive. He just doesn't have the ability to see. If there was a blind person and you were holding their hand and they were about to walk into a hole or into a pit, you wouldn't yell at them and say, hey, why can't you see that pit? Because you know they blind, right? Like you aren't angry at them. You are just,
Right.
You understand that what they can do, they don't see
They
it. They're
just
just
don't see it.
limited. And so I just want to encourage any of you wives who are out there who feel like, well, my husband is not supporting me. Okay, we get it. He might not be supporting you. But if you've been called for this, then just continue to push through and realize that God's going to get the glory. The fruit's going to come from it. And, sometimes you have to have success. Sometimes it's success that brings support. So now that you are successful, and you are bringing in
Yes,
checks.
definitely.
Now they're like, oh, you need to go where? You need to travel where? I'll take you to the airport.
Girl, I got you. Yeah, you got to ride with me.
Exactly.
That's true. That
Okay,
really is true.
so you get divorced, you separate, from your husband, and then now it's time for you to focus.
And yes, it's almost like it happened immediately after I left. And it helped me with the healing process. I just kind of focused on art. I was very good at it. I've always been a creative person. In the past, I used to sell granite and design kitchens and baths, and I've always been good visually. And so now I was, like, I need to do something for me, and I need to do something to bring in some extra cash because now I'm a single mom. And I've never had to be a single mom before. It was kind of shocking and jarring to have to pay my own rent and my own electricity and buy all the food. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, can I do this? And that actually stopped me from leaving for a while because I didn't think I could do it. It's not that I didn't want to leave. I didn't think I was able to leave and take care of myself and the kids. And then it just came to a point where I was like, you know what? I have to do it. I can do it. I need to stop making excuses not to. I just knew it was time. And even though I knew it was time to leave, it still didn't hurt any less to leave.
I think that happens a lot too, it's like the fear, and that's not just in marriage. It's the fear that keeps us from changing. It's the fear that keeps us from stepping out. We don't know how things are going to work out. We doubt our own abilities. Even though we love God, we're women of faith. I say that's super cute until it's time to step out on faith. It's real great to say, I believe God, he'll move mountains, until it's time for you to walk up against a mountain. Then it's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to wait a little bit,
Right. Right. And it's like, I tell people, I'm like, yes, I did it. I left, but I still tell people don't leave because like after going through everything that I have gone through, even though I knew it was, the right decision for me to leave. And, of course, there's never one person at fault most of the time, it's two people. So I can't say it was just him or just me, but, it was my decision to leave. But still, I tell people don't leave. Just when the kids are involved and you actually have, a family unit, you try to keep that family unit at all costs, unless your life is in danger. That's a completely different thing. But, if it's, differences of opinion, or if it's communication, or if it's time you don't spend together, or, anything financial, do what you can to keep it together. That's probably the best advice I can give because, if I could go back 15 years, 100 times, I would do so many things different to where I never had to do that. So basically doing the art helped me to heal. Like it really did. It kind of gave me purpose, and, I work my full-time job now and I do my art on the side. And of course my dream is to do art full time. I would love to have a gallery. I'd love to have my pieces in different galleries all over the United States. That's my dream. So, I have to pay the bills. So I work full time. And, but the art is really what kind of feeds my soul. The creativity, seeing what I can create, seeing the finished product and knowing that like you didn't do this, like God did this through you. That's amazing. And then having my kids be able to see the finished product and me telling them, you guys, I didn't do this. Like God did this. Do you see what he can do? Like, do you see what he can do with your hands? If you just, follow if you follow what you love, if you follow what talent he gave you. And a lot of times it's hard to actually find that talent. Sometimes it's not as simple as, oh, I'm a good artist. Some people have no idea. Well, I don't know what my talent is. I've had many people tell me that. They're like, well, I'm a good talker. I have a lot of charisma, but I don't really know what my talent is.
I understand that struggle. Probably around the same time that you started taking your art seriously, I was going through a similar journey where it's like, okay, I know I want to be an entrepreneur. I've been trying this since 2007, getting some headway with some things, but just not enough to break out or break through or cross over. And it's like, now I have to ask myself, what is my talent? What can I do? And for months, I was like, I don't have a talent. I don't have any gifts. I remember emailing you and emailing Olivia, like, can y'all pray for me? Because I have no talent. I have no gifts. I have nothing to give. I have nothing to bring to the marketplace. Aww. And you guys were great, with like, no, you got something. Now, let me tell y'all this. They were so supportive saying I had something. They were sure I had a gift, but they couldn't identify it, okay? They were like, girl, you got something. I'm like, okay, what is it? Well, we don't know what it is, but we sure said that. I'm like, okay.
We can't really put our finger on it, but it's something. It's something special, girl.
And so I do think,
you're highly intelligent. That's anybody talking to you for 3 minutes or less knows you're highly intelligent. I knew that the first time I ever spoke to you. I was like, this girl is intense. But
I think that we need it when it's us, like, because for me, I'm not intense. I'm just me. Like, I'm just courage. I'm not thinking like, oh, look at me. I'm so intense. Oh, look at me. I'm such a great speaker. I'm just like being my regular self. This is just conversation. Yes. It's, for me, It's like, well, is that really a talent? I met this girl one time who was like, oh, are you a motivational speaker? And I bust out laughing. I was like, girl, if you're not somebody that's going to pay me to speak, sign me up. But for me at the time, it was a joke that that was very natural for me is something that would open doors for me and could help me provide a life for my family. And I think that we are like that. Whether we love to bake or we love to cook or we love to design or like with you, loving art that way, especially with art. Let me just say this. I feel like artists, I really feel like we have it the hardest. I really do. And I see myself as an artist because my product is not necessarily something that people know they need. Right. I believe it's a solution.
Right. Because art is open to interpretation. Exactly. And it's usually not by the masses.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I can create a piece that I think is the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. And then my mom sees it and she's like, it's nice, but I wouldn't put it into my house. I'm like, what? Are you serious right now? She's like, it's just not my style. But that's, to me, that's honest. And I needed that because I'm like, everybody is not going to like what you create. And, there are some pieces where I just think, oh, they're okay. And people are like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite. And I'm like, really? That's your favorite? I'm like, what about it's your favorite? And I'm like, I just think it just turned out okay. I don't really like it all that much yet. So it's open to interpretation of the person looking at it. But that's also the beauty of it. That means it's unique. That means it's, it's just not, that means you can't just, buy the same thing from the next person. You're not going to find a motivational speaker within 1,000 miles that is anything like courage.
It's a reminder.
That's just the truth of it.
That our gifts and our talents, we're fingerprints. Right. We may all be fingers and we may all have talents, but no talent is exactly alike. And I think that we get caught up sometimes in like, this other person is in the same industry as you and they have the same talent and you look at their talent in comparison to your talent. And you're like, you know what? I might as well just shut my shop.
I think everyone is guilty of that. Probably 99% of people in business are guilty of that. Of course, I look at other artists and I'm like, how are they? First of all, there are some artists out there who I just admire. I'm like, their stuff is just beautiful. There's no way I'll ever be as good as them. And then there's some artists out there who, they have like 100,000 followers. And I'm like, my stuff is way better than that. Like, how are they pulling in these people. It's like I know I have good product, I know I have good content, but it's a two-edged sword. It can help you to compare yourself to other
I
people,
think
and it
that when
can
I look
also
at
hurt
somebody
you.
else's stuff and I feel like, okay, well, if they did it, I certainly can do this. For me, it's a reminder of
Exactly.
one, everything isn't for everybody. So while I'm not really feeling it, or I don't think it's great quality, somebody else is head over heels about it. And two, the difference that I noticed between me and that person who was killing it in the game, and I feel like you killing it and you ain't really saying nothing, is that they have so much faith and belief and confidence. And so confidence is huge in, as far as like keys to success. You have to not just be the talent and have the gift or whatever, but you also have to own it. You cannot walk in like, hey, my stuff is okay.
Right.
When I see people who are successful, they are like, this is, like, this is what I'm good at. This is my area. They are not walking around saying, well, I'm not, like I have been saying, oh, I'm not really a writer, which I'm going to stop saying, by the way, just a little FYI, y'all. I've been saying, I'm not really a writer. I'm a
Yes.
great speaker. Writing is not for me. Well, I've written this book and I've, this editing has happened. And the problem is when you allow other people in the industry, right? So other people who have written books have previewed the book and have read the book and, looking for feedback. I'm not really sure why I decided to do that, to be perfectly honest, in retrospect. Because there are people who are greater, like their talent in writing is much greater than mine, without question. Their ability to write is so much better than mine. And so to them, it's like, oh, this is a great start. You have a lot of work left to do. But my book is not necessarily for writers. I mean, certainly writers can read it, but my book is for readers, right? For people who want to hear the story.
Right. Which is what you want your book to be for. Your book should be for readers.
And so it's the same thing is true for you though. Absolutely. With art. Like I see your art and I honestly, I haven't seen it. And just because we're friends, I'm not going to be gassing you up, girl. I haven't seen anything that I didn't like. If I saw something I didn't like, I would be like, oh, I need to do something else because this ain't really Girl, you need to just pray to the Lord, do some fasting so we can get you in the right wheelhouse. But girl, this is you. It is, I haven't seen anything that I don't like. There are lots of things that you've created that I'm like, that is gorgeous. Not from my house, but it's gorgeous. But it's mostly because of my style. So I can see things and I feel like, oh my gosh, that was like, look at the way the colors and or whatever. I could totally see it in an art gallery or in someone's home who was more art forward than I am. I have a great and wonderful and sparkly personality, but my style is not so much. My style is not that wild up.
Yeah, it's my art is definitely eclectic, and you really have to be a lover of color to kind of find a place to put it, I believe. And the same thing my mom said. She's like, oh, I love the colors. Like, oh my gosh, you're so brave with using all pink. She's like, but where would I put that pink? And we had this conversation before where you were talking about, are you creating for the market or are you just creating what you love? And, I feel like I do both. I feel like, every now and then I'll do a piece that's kind of neutral, but I don't feel like neutral is me. So, I'm kind of getting out of my comfort zone to do a neutral piece unless it's a commission piece. If somebody asks for, like Olivia just, asked for a piece and she wanted it to be gray, white with gold. To me, that's neutral. But I mean, the piece turned out gorgeous and she loves it, but I would have never created it unless she had asked for those colors. My first instinct is to do bright, bold colors. And, of course, those aren't going to go in, the average person's home. They're not going to be able to find a place in their living room for a bright yellow painting or something that's like electric blue with like gold all over it, So, which is why most of my business is commissioned, which I love because the more I actually talk to, artists around town, they're like, there's not a lot of artists out there who most of their business is commission art, where they just will create off of the colors you gave them for their home. And so, so that has been working out really well because so I don't have a lot of paintings I just create just because. A lot of my work is just commission. It's like, tell me what you want and you know my style. We can make it look like this or like this, but it's going to be Quia Z. And, most people are they're really open and like, okay, I love your stuff anyways. Create something, just do my colors. And, so it's worked out pretty well that way. And it's a challenge because there have been clients who came back and went, well, actually, I know I said red, but I really want a burgundy. And I'm like, okay. You know what? Let me go ahead and correct that for you. I will turn it to burgundy, all of it, and I'll send you another picture. And so, but that's a good thing. I don't mind being challenged. It makes me better. It makes me,
do you feel like that
more prepared for the next client?
Like, and do you feel like, okay, because it's commission and they're telling me what colors, that it's not as cathartic as it is when you are just like picking your own colors, or does it still do the same thing for you?
It depends on the piece. I mean, there are some pieces where, I'm not in love with it. And, I think that's the nature of the business, especially when you're an artist who offers, you do custom orders. I don't think you're going to be completely in love with every single piece. And that's okay. I met an artist down in New Orleans, recently, and his work is some of the most beautiful I've ever seen. And he was like, I've been doing this for 15 years. And he was like, I just recently started liking my art, like in the past year. His art is magnificent. But he was like, I really haven't really liked my own art. I do it and people love it. And yeah, I'm selling this piece for $15,000. But yeah, But, I just started liking it recently. He was the most humble person. And, you could pick his brain. He would tell you the products he used. He would tell you how he did it. Who he started with. He was the greatest guy. And he was like, I just never really liked my art. So, I think it's okay to not be in love with everything that comes out, but somebody else might be. If the person you're selling it to is, and they're like, okay, this is exactly what I wanted. I love it. Right. I'm happy.
I think we are our own worst critics, when it comes to that. So I'll do an engagement. I'll stand up on stage. Yeah. I'll speak. And sometimes I've practiced and I'm ready because I've known what it was going to be or whatever. But sometimes I'm like, okay, God, I'm on my way to this event. You have given me 0 words. It would be great to kind of get a heads up. Girl, I was driving to a volunteer event. I was supposed to be speaking to this group of volunteers, basically encouraging them to give, to serve, to do the thing that God has called them to do. And so I'm like, well, I don't really know what I'm going to say. I am dressed. I am driving. My radio is down. I'm like, okay, Lord Jesus, Father in heaven. I'm going to be in front of this podium in less than 20 minutes, and I have no words. And en route, he gave me the words. And so I stood up and I gave my spiel, and I thought, oh, okay, that was magnificent. That was wonderful. And people came up and they loved it. But there have been other times where I've had time to practice and prepare, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be so great. And I get up there and I do it, and I think, oh, nobody is ever going to hire me to speak again. But then people come up and they're like, oh my gosh, I loved it. I'm like, really? Well, if you thought that was good. If you thought that was good, you should definitely tell your friends, because I definitely can do better than I did right there. And so I think that it's like that for all of us, because we have a different standard of excellence because it's what we look at all the time. You're always looking at art. I'm always listening to speeches. I'm listening to speeches and podcasts, and I'm an avid reader. Yes. So I'm always looking at and spending time with the best in my field. And so when it's time for me to bring my talent to the table, I have them as a reference point. And so I have to, like you said, remind myself, like, you know what, this is my gifting, and maybe I didn't love it, but somebody else is going to love it. And maybe it's not as, not the same as this other person's, but it was the best that I could do at that time. Right. Let me ask you a question about art. So a lot of times when we talk about like our gifting and our purpose, finding our calling, especially in Christian circles, we are talking about like our calling as it relates to like the church. And so my calling or my purpose really isn't that awesome if it does not lend itself to the church or to like improving the world or whatever. How do you feel that art fits into that? Like, why is art important? Why is that necessary? Like, do I really need art? Like, really? Is that really going to make a difference?
That's it. Right. That's a good question because, there's so many people out there who they could care less about design. They could care less about color. They're just not those people. They don't really, there's a lot of people out there who really don't enjoy the arts. It's like or art is not art to them. Like music is art, or, movies are art, or fashion is art. And, I respect all of that. Um, to me, because it's my passion, it's important to me. And I kind of want other people to, know how important, the act of creating something on canvas or even on clothes, or just the act of creation is important because, God is the ultimate creator. It's, I just looking outside gives me inspiration. I look at the sky, I look at, the way the colors meld together, the way the clouds are laying. And it's like, oh my gosh, I think of a painting. That's just me. I can look at anything. I can look at the contrast on a piece of paper or somebody's outfit against the carpet. And everything I see kind of lends itself to, oh, I want to try this color combination. It can be the craziest thing. I have looked at some of the craziest things. I'm like, I'm going to do a color combination off of that. So to me, it's, the people that, art is important to, it's important to them. It's like, honestly, I'm not really worried about the people who are like, art's really not my thing, because I can respect that. And I'm not going to say, well, you don't have art in your house. What's wrong with you? You need to invest in art. But that's their business and it's fine. There's people who spend lots of money on other things that I wouldn't agree with. So it's okay. So I kind of, focus my energy on, the people who they look at it and they want to try it. They see me do a painting and they email me or they message me. And they're like, oh my gosh, Quia, like I used to paint a long time ago and I watched your video and I've done like 10 paintings. I've had so many people say that to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm inside people's houses, even though they can't maybe necessarily afford to buy a piece of art. Or, that's not in their budget, but, they can go out, buy a little canvas and buy some paint and they can do it at their home. And, they're getting art therapy from that. They're actually, they're getting pleasure from creating something. And, I love that because I know how I feel when I'm creating. I can create for 8 hours straight and it does not feel like 8 hours. The sun has come up and gone down and I'm still over this painting. And it's just like, it's amazing to me how I can just be so focused and be so satisfied with what I'm doing. And to me, that's like a gift. It's like, you can't do that with everything to where it's just, it kind of takes over. And so, as it relates to the church per se, I definitely think it's a spiritual thing. I think creating is a spiritual thing for all of us. And, I know because God gave me this gift that I am being used by him. And I feel like it's definitely my duty, everybody I meet, for them to know, like, this is not my gift, it's his gift. He's using me to put it on canvas, but this is really something that I received from him. And, so it's really, it's not about me per se, but it's about him and him just being, it just overwhelms me, like how God created us, how he created this universe, the planets, the stars, the millions of species. I mean, just everything. And there's just so much more I feel like I can learn and so much more I can teach people. And, I actually, have one art student and, she works a lot. She works at a hospital. She's always stressed out. And, she came to my art class and I saw her mood change. She was only there for 1 hour. By the time she was done pouring paint and cleaning up, She had a completely different countenance about her. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this woman looks like she had about 5 glasses of wine and all she did was paint. Like, she really just looked completely different. I mean, she was speaking slower. She was quieter. She looked relaxed. She just looked so much calmer. And she's like, I just really enjoyed that. Like, she looked like she had just gotten a massage. That's what she looked like. And I'm just like, wow, did you really enjoy it? It was my first art class. And she was like, I did. She was like, I really want to go home and do this. This is something that I need to do. And, so now she's at home and she's, I've taught her some of my techniques. So she's buying her own canvases now and her own paint and her own supplies. And she's sending me pictures of what she does. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And it feeds my spirit, because it's like, there's a reason I met this woman. Yes, it's like she's paying to take an art class, but I think there's a reason. Even when somebody's paying for your product, I always think there's a reason that you met that person. Even if it's the smallest, amount of money spent, there's always a reason why we're connected, or why you see somebody in passing, or why you met this person. So, I just think there's an opportunity in that to kind of give your best self, to, put your fatigue aside and how tired you are. And, oh gosh, like, do we really have to do this art class on a Monday night? Like, this is the only night, it's like, I have to put all that away and be like, God sent this woman to me for a reason, and I'm going to give her all that I can. And so that's how I feel with my art. If I'm creating a custom piece or I'm creating anything, I'm like, I'm going to give this all that I can. I don't want this art to walk out the door if I'm not absolutely satisfied with it or absolutely in love with it, because I don't want to give it to somebody else and I'm like, I'm just, they can pay me up front for something. I'm not just trying to get the piece out, get the money. It's like, I never want to do that, because then I feel like it's taking advantage of your gift and not really being true to what God gave you. It's like, you should really put, like what the Bible verse says. It talks about, everything that your hands find to do, you should do it with all that you have in you. I'm sure it doesn't say exactly that, but I'm paraphrasing, people. I'm not adding to or taking away from the word. I don't want that curse. But seriously, I think, Christians specifically need to take that very seriously, because it's so easy to get stressed out and, be in your flesh and, I don't want to do this. I don't want to really work hard on this. I'm just going to get my paycheck, girl, and be out of here on Friday. And it's like, we really shouldn't think like that, because, it's like, if you have a job and you're getting paid for it, it's like, you already have a blessing. So it's like, and you have that job because God gave it to you. So you really should do all that you can, the best that you can, pretend you're on the other end of that phone, receiving service, or, you're that person trying to get health insurance. You should always put yourself in the other person's shoes. And, as an artist, if I'm the person spending money with QZ Design Gallery, I'm wanting her to, I paid $500 for this painting. I want her to put out her best $500 painting that she's ever created.
Says your gifts will make room for you, I think it means the gifts that you pour out in that way, not holding back, not saying, okay, this is good enough, or they won't know the difference because they're not really whatever. I think that's absolutely true. And I also think that, art really is a reflection of Christ in us, because there's so many things that are unnecessary now. I live here in Charlotte, and so it's springtime right now. And as I drive through different neighborhoods, the flowers and the green, even the green leaves are a different green than they are in the summer. And it's like, those colors and those things are so unnecessary. They don't have to be pink and white and purple and blue. They could have all been the same color. Like, the color wasn't necessary, but God gave that color and gave that art. And I believe it's for us to enjoy. I do believe that it does something to our spirit. It does something to our mind and to our attitude. And I'm not a person that's like, I'm not a huge art person. I'm going to go and do paint your piece because it's a group effort. Somebody wants to go for their birthday. I'm going to go, but I'm not going to be like, oh, this is so much fun. We should do this no, I'm so good. But that being said, I do appreciate the type of environment it creates in the space that you take up. So, and it wasn't until I started to think about my purpose and started to think about what God had called me to do, that the space that I live in and the space that I create in turned into a place where I wanted to see things that were going to inspire me, or I wanted it to give me a certain feel when I walked into the room. I want my bedroom to give me a certain feel. And it's not really something, honestly, I ever thought about before. I've always painted my houses. If we go and we have a new place, I paint them to match the furniture. I paint them to be a color that I think is pretty, but I never really went beyond that to like putting up pictures. Even right now, the house that I'm in now, we've been in this house for 4 years. It is the biggest house we've had ever. And listen, I'm not saying it's a mansion. I'm just saying there's more wall space. That's all I mean. I'm just saying it's bigger. I just mean there's more wall space. And guess what? Most of these walls are empty. Actually, most of the walls are empty. And it's because while I know the feel I want it to have, I lack the ability to pull pieces in to create the feel that I want. And so Quia has just, sent me my painting that she did for me because we're friends. And it is so great. And I have it in my office right now. I keep saying I need to put it in a place that's kind of behind me. So when I do my lives, whenever I do a live broadcast or do my Tuesday night show, my background is so plain, it's so gray. There's nothing else going on. But right now it's sitting across from my desk on my bookshelf, and I can see it. And I'm going to have a hard time moving it because I love it there. I love being able to look at it. I know it's so I'm so sappy right now. I don't even understand what's happening. To truth be told, I love it. And when I say I love it, what I mean is like when I look at it, it feels like where I'm going. Like I feel like I'm about to cry, and that's super ridiculous.
I'm so glad you love
it. Super ridiculous. You're not getting no tears out of me, girl. I can't do it. It's super ridiculous. But I'm so overwhelmed by where I'm going because where I'm going is so far from where I am, and it's so far from where I come from. But that painting feels like my new life. That painting looks like this new place. It feels like the air is different. I can't explain it. I can't really explain it, to be honest with you, but that is the feeling that I get. And so I've just got it sitting there. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm going to do about this background. They're going to have to be okay with this plain background because I love looking at it. It is so, it is like, it's luxurious, but it's not over the top. Like it gives me the feel of this luxurious. It really is. This painting is everything. I'll have to. Right. Yes,
it is. It is luxurious, isn't it? Though.
Yes, it's got this glass on it. I'm gonna put a picture up in the show notes so y'all can see
where
this.
I want to be. This is where I want to be.
It is absolutely amazing, and it does motivate me. It does inspire me, and it encourages me because my situation right now, my circumstances aren't where. I mean, it's not. I haven't arrived at the promised land, and so that painting is like land flowing with milk and honey, baby. I'm like, oh Lord, I'm getting to my. Yes, I'm about to get to. That's right. That's what it is. It is a land flowing with milk and honey. I'm like, oh, I'm about to get to my promised land. Thank you, God. And it's like a visual reminder of where I'm going. And so when things get tough, when things aren't working out the way I want them to work out, when something, I don't get a client at the end of a consultation that I spent, whatever hours on. And I think, man, I'm so far from where I'm trying to go. And I look at this painting, I'm like, oh, that's about to be my life. That feel is going to be my life. And so I really do appreciate that. A little shade, though, just for the listeners. Okay, just going to keep it 100. Now, I got one little painting. Olivia got like 30 paintings. Olivia got a painting, got a QZ design on every wall in every house.
Oh, gosh, here she goes.
Okay. I was like,
okay, well,
it's like Kia sent Olivia a Thanksgiving
Look,
dinner, and she gonna send me a turkey
Olivia has
sandwich.
the original
Now, because I'm
Kia gallery
starving,
in
I
her house.
appreciate that
Okay,
turkey
Olivia
sandwich.
has more of my
But I
paintings
just
in
want
her
the
house than I have
listeners to know
in mine.
who the redheaded stepchild is. That is me.
Seriously,
Okay?
she
That
really
is
does.
no, but I love it. Yes, I'm number 2. When you're number 2, this is what you get. When you're number 2, you got to be happy. Don't complain about being in the number 2 spot. That's how people go bankrupt. They try to compete with number 1. I'm not trying to compete with number 1.
Like the number
I'm
1
gonna
bestie.
be happy with my number 2 spot before I'm number 10. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I have 2 questions that I always ask at the end of the podcast, and so I want to ask them to you.
See, look at you.
What is the most courageous thing you've ever done? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That is a very good question.
I'll take. Listen,
gosh,
you know what?
Like,
we're gonna judge you after you make your answer.
Does courageous have to be, smart? Are there 2 synonymous? Because sometimes you can do something courageous. It was stupid, but it was still courageous. But oh my gosh. I think probably the most courageous thing I've ever done was deciding to do things myself and for me and for my sanity. And, of course, that came along with, leaving and, becoming single and raising these kids by myself. But, the courageous part came in realizing that I, was becoming a person that I didn't want to become. And realizing that, I really truly believe now that I'm a more patient person. I'm a more focused person. I do believe that I'm a better mom. And that's hard to admit that I'm a better mom now than I used to be. I feel like, and not just because, it has nothing to do with being single or married, but I have a different mindset than I did because of so much emotional stuff that I went through. And it made me realize what was truly important. And it made me realize that time was short and, that you can live your whole life some way in a certain way and it can end in a heartbeat. And it's like, this life I knew I don't have anymore. So it's like, how do I pick up the pieces and, still be the person that I know. And, so really it's like I feel like my pride is raising these 2 little people that God has given me because they truly are a gift, even though they can drive me nuts sometimes. But I mean, they really are. It's like, if you're a mom, you know that only you are equipped to take care of the child that you have. There's a reason that God gave you the child that you have. There's a reason that I have James and Cameron. The issues that, my son has had, with school and, some of you may know, he struggles with ADD, even still at 14. And I'm like, there is nobody better equipped in this whole entire world to be his mother than me. And, this is my child. And I feel like, after going through what I went through, I'm like, I need to refocus and realize that, okay, my future is now with these kids. And that also helps me with, my business and my creativity because I'm like, I want to provide the life that I want for them. I don't want them to, have to want for anything. I want to be, that mom who's not, in a bad mood because I'm having a hard time paying the bills. Or I'm having I don't have time for this because I got to go to work. I got to work extra hours. I don't want to be that person. I want to be, I want to enjoy life with them while they're with me. And so I'm like, let me work hard and appreciate them, do what I have to do. But, at the same time, really just enjoying the moment. And I've learned to really enjoy day by day instead of just being stressed out about what I have to do. I'm like, how can I enjoy this day and make it the best day? So I think that's probably like my most courageous thing is just realizing the person that I was and the person that I become. And it really boils down to like my children and wanting the best for them. That's been really everything. That's been like really my motivation is them. And that motivation becomes even stronger as I get older and closer to moving out of the house. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's like they're already 12 and 14. And, before I can blink, they're going to be graduating high school and going off to college. And, I want to be able to look back and be like, I really, truly did everything I could to give them a good home, a good childhood, teach them about the Lord. Like, I want to be able to say I did everything that I could. I don't want to look back with regrets. Like, I wish I wasn't so busy that day. I wish I didn't, I wasn't fussing at them about nothing that day because I was in a bad mood about something else. Like, I don't want to look back and have those memories or have them have those memories. So, I really work hard every day about treating them a certain way. And I did not realize that until after I left, until after I was by myself with them. And I'm like, you know what? I got to change the way I am. I can't use anything else as an excuse. The way I act, I have to look at myself and I have to take responsibility for my actions and my attitude and treat them accordingly. So that's, the answer to your question. Oh, goodness. I really, I tell the kids all the time, like, it's not easy being a Christian person, especially in this day and age. 2018,
it is.
I really, think it's becoming harder and harder. I think there's less and less people that you meet who share your same morals and share your same values, and really honestly believe everything that's in the Word of God. That's becoming, it's becoming scarce nowadays. So to me, courageous living is like really living like by God's word. That's really hard to do. I mean, that's hard to do in any walk of life, but I really do think courageous living is like walking in Christ's footsteps and actually doing what he wants you to do and not doing what you want to do. Because, being courageous takes faith. There's lots of times where I know I don't need to do something or, I want to do something, but I can't do it because I'm like, oh, that's like really not pleasing to God, but I want it so bad. Oh, I really want to do it, but I can't do it,
and not just that,
and also it's like,
refraining from doing things, but stepping out to do things that are the most insane thing.
But I feel like,
because he said so.
Would that be compromising?
Like, girl, if that doesn't take courage,
to take advantage of this opportunity just so I can make a little extra money, or just I can't do that either. So it's like, okay, God, I'm passing this up, but I'm having faith that something better is coming because I know this is not pleasing. Oh gosh, yes. 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 Yeah, and I definitely struggle with that too. I doubt myself a lot and I'm like social anxiety, and I'm like, it's so easy to hide behind social media. I'm like, I can take selfies and take pictures of my art and but girl, let me go to a networking event and people are talking.
You just have to do it in a way that is comfortable
artist. What do you do?
Because I am fine with it. I don't care. I can go to an event by myself.
They're like, oh, you're all over social media, so they think that when they meet me, I'm just like this talking to a person. I'm really not.
When you are less assertive in that way, that it doesn't mean that you have to be assertive that way. You just have to find a way that works for you.
Not that person. I got to stop that. I have to get out of my shell and I have to learn how to sell myself, because because that's
to
not my
join
strength.
a networking organization,
So,
and here's a wonderful plug for Mosaic Women Network, obviously, but to join an organization where you can go to the events that they have, and they have those events regularly,
I
because
love that
then
you
it
can
will
do that.
allow you
That's
to warm
awesome.
up to people, and people will notice you, because you guys are all great once people get to know you. It's that one hit wonder that makes it difficult for you to kind of like get out there and mingle. And so you can still go to those events, and there will be people like me at those events that will see the person on the wall and be like, hey, how you doing? I'm Courage Molina. I'm so, this is so excited. This is not really my thing, but girl, I'm excited to be here, or whatever. I'm just going to walk right up to a person. And so I think it's great to go to those events, but I do not want you or anybody else who's like you to feel like, oh, I need to work on that. No, you don't. You need to stay in your lane, and you need to go to a place where your natural awesomeness can flourish. And I think networking organizations like Mosaic Women that have regular networking events where you can kind of see the same people and warm up, I think those are great. That's a great strategy for people who are not assertive when it comes to networking. So try something like that instead of like doing something outside of your, comfort zone. Quia, I am so glad that we did this. And for the record, you thought we weren't going to get to an hour, girl. We are at 1 hour and 6 minutes. Okay.
Right.
I told you it would be fine. I'm like, oh, we'll be fine. Don't worry, we'll be fine. I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And you guys, don't worry, whatever it is that you feel like you've been called to do, regardless of what anybody else thinks of it,
Me too.
you just have to go out and do it because it's free, right?
I cannot believe that. I'm like, I really don't have that much to say, but apparently I do.
Right. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd love to hear from you. If you love what Quia had to say, if you too are a starving artist or an artist who has made it, go ahead and talk to us in the comments. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Y'all know the review is everything. And if you love this, you can share this. You can hit me up at couragemolina.com, where we embrace courage as a lifestyle so that you can live your best life. Connect with Quia through the show notes. I'll have a link to all things that she is connected to and connected through. And if you'd like to get a painting commissioned, that's going to be the place to do it. See us at the show notes, you guys. Love you.